And this is the 70mai T800. It is one of the most advanced triple channel dashcams currently in the market, and I have already reviewed it. If you guys want to see all of its features, I'll put a link to that review video in the description down below. On this video, I'm going to walk you through the settings menu and my personally recommended settings. That way you can get the most out of this dashcam. And let's begin with how to get to the settings. That is going to be done with this button right here with the three little lines. Tapping that is going to bring us to the first menu, and that is going to be video settings. And I'll tap the check mark, and the first option is going to be video encoding format. Now by default it's going to be set to high compression, and I recommend leaving it there. You only want to change it to low compression if you plan to view the videos on an older computer or on an older phone that may not play high compression videos. Next option is going to be video resolution, and for the front camera we got two options: 4K or full high definition. Now you only want to decrease the resolution if you want to carry more video on your memory card. I personally prefer running it at 4K. Cabin camera, you only have one option, which is full high definition, so there's no need to change that. And rear camera, we get two options: 4K and full high definition. Again, the same thing in here. You only want to decrease that if you want to carry more hours of video in your memory card. I'm going to leave mine in 4K. And if you disable the rear camera, you're going to have a couple different options for resolution. Front camera, you still have the option of 4K with HDR, which can provide you with a really good image quality at day and at night, or decrease it like we saw earlier to full high definition, or 4K, but now at 60 frames per second. 60 frames per second is considered high frame rate, so this can allow you potentially to freeze fast moving objects like license plates on vehicles. Now notice that you will give up HDR, so you won't have high dynamic range, but you do get high frames per second. I prefer HDR over high frame rate. You could also disable the cabin camera. Now this will allow you to capture more video because you're only recording two channels, or if you wanted to turn it off temporarily for privacy purposes. I like to keep my cabin camera enabled. Next up is gonna be image quality. Now there's two interesting options in here, and both of them are very similar. 70mai says that this defogging mode and transparent mode are designed to cut through fog. So if you are driving in an area where there is a lot of fog, enabling these guys can potentially give you better image quality. Now this one is for the front camera, and this one is for the rear camera. I don't really experience this type of foggy conditions where I live, so I'm gonna turn both of those options off. Next up is gonna be picture in picture. Now this just controls how the dashcam displays the camera views on the screen. You can have it show all cameras on the screen at the same time, front, cabin, and rear, or you can select to only see two camera views at the same time on the screen, front and cabin, or only front and rear camera. I personally like to leave this on all views at the same time, and I'll quickly show you what that looks like. Here's the front view, cabin view, and the rear camera all together and the same screen. Now again, this is just for the screen. Each camera view is recorded separately, so they're not gonna be shown together like this. Now the recorded video is gonna have watermarks on there. It's gonna have the 70mai logo watermark, a speed watermark showing your speed, and coordinates watermark showing your location in coordinates. Now you could choose to disable any of the stuff if you don't want it to be shown on the video as a watermark. Anti-flicker, here you want to select 60 Hz if you are in the United States, or 50 Hz if you're in Europe. In some rare cases, you will want to select 55 Hz. It's kind of an in-between between both of them. I'm going to leave mine at 60 Hz. The next option controls the rear camera, flipping that view horizontally. I'm going to turn this off, and I'm going to show you what it looks like. Notice where the sidewalk is at. Right now, based on where I'm sitting in the driver's seat, this sidewalk is in the incorrect side. So I'm going to go back over here, and I'm going to go ahead and re-enable that option. I'm gonna go over here, rear camera mirroring, turn that on, and if I go back to that view, now the sidewalk is in the correct side. This makes it look like if I was looking through a mirror. So this to me is the preferred view for the rear camera as far as that option, which controls the horizontal setting of it. Now there's also another setting that controls flipping the view vertically. If I turn it off, notice what happens. The view is upside down. Now if the rear camera is mounted upside down, you can play with that setting to make it look straight. In my particular case, the way that I mounted the rear camera, I'm gonna go ahead and enable that, flipping it, And then if you go back over here, you can see that it's now show straight. So it really depends on how the rear camera is mounted, whether you want to have this option on or off. And the next option is going to be allow remote live view. Now this option is meant to be used with the 4G hardwire kit, which can allow you to see live video from your dashcam when you're away from it if you leave this option on. I don't have the kit on this vehicle, so I'm going to turn this function off. Moving over to the next section, we got system settings, and we're going to go inside of Wi-Fi. Now here, Wi-Fi hotspot allows you to turn on the Wi-Fi to connect to the app. I like to leave my Wi-Fi off, and I only turn it on when I want to access the dashcam via the app. However, you can choose for the dashcam to always have the Wi-Fi on and enable. Now, I only recommend that you do that if you're gonna change the default password. Otherwise, you're gonna leave a Wi-Fi on all the time, and potentially somebody can hop in on there if you have not changed your password. Next up is Wi-Fi frequency, and this supports 5 GHz or 2.4 GHz. Now, you only want to select 2.4 if you have an older phone. Most newer phones support already 5 GHz Wi-Fi, which allows you to have faster download speeds. Next up is going to be sound settings. Now, if you don't want to hear the dashcam startup sound, you can turn it off right here. Same thing with the button sound, you can turn it on or off right here, and all it does this beep. I like to turn that off, I find that kind of annoying. You could also choose to disable the microphone if you only want to record video. And you can also control the speaker volume. You can actually set it as high as ultra high or ultra low, or turning it off altogether. Next up is going to be screen standby mode. Now this allows you to enable a screensaver. The dashcam eventually shows you a clock screensaver, and that looks like this while the dashcam continues to record in the background, or you can have the dashcam turn off the screen completely after a period of time while the dashcam continues to record in the background. I personally like to leave my screen on all the time, so I'm going to leave this on always on. And the next option is called auto off when parked. Now, if the dashcam is not hardwired, if the dashcam is running off your power outlet and your power outlet turns off when you turn off your car and turns on when you turn on your car, you're going to want to select never. That way the dashcam turns off when you turn off your vehicle because the power outlet on your vehicle turns off, and the dashcam turns on when you turn your vehicle on because your power outlet turns on. However, in some cases, not very common, but it happens, some vehicles have power outlets that stay on all the time. And if the power outlet stays on all the time, when you walk away from your car, the dashcam is going to stay on and could potentially drain your battery. So if your power outlet stays on all the time, you're going to want to select from one of these options right here, for the dashcam to turn off after 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or 20 minutes of the vehicle being parked, again to protect your vehicle's battery. My particular vehicle, because the power outlet turns on or off with the car, I'm gonna select never. Now the next option is system time, and here you have a couple options. You can manually select the date and time information from here, but the dashcam can get that information automatically from the GPS. So I leave this in auto sync, and the dashcam gets automatically date and time information. Now the most important part, if you choose to use the GPS to sync that information, is to select the time zone that you are located at. So you want to go through this list and find the time zone that you're in. That way you can get the correct date and time. And if you happen to live on a place that observes daylight savings time, you can enable or disable this to either add or subtract an hour to adjust for that daylight saving time. Next, we got system language. And here you can change the language from the default one to something else. And this is actually quite a list. It has quite a bit of options in here if you wanted to change it. Next option is gonna be date format, and here again it's just a matter of preference of how you want that format to be shown on the video recorded. I like date, month, and year. And on the next option, speed unit, allows you to select between kilometers per hour or miles per hour. And the next three items, positioning status, download app, and about, there is nothing to change inside of them. This one, all it does is shows you the number of satellites that the GPS has logged onto. This one gives you a barcode to download the app, and this one shows you the current firmware that the dashcam is running. Next up, you got format. This option allows you to delete all the videos on the memory card at once. It is also recommended to use this option whenever a brand new memory card has been installed on the dashcam. And finally, you got an option to restore all the factory settings if you wanted to return the dashcam to its original settings like it was when you first got it. Moving over to the next section, Smart Travel. And under Emergency Video, here is where you can enable the Dashcam's G sensor. Now the G sensor allows the Dashcam to detect when you get into a car crash, and you can select on here how sensitive you want the Dashcam to detecting that you got into a car crash. Now you want to be careful, because if you set this too high, any little bump on the road, even potentially you closing the door, can make the Dashcam think that you got into a car crash. So you want to find a setting that works for you, that is not too high or is not too low, depending on your vehicle. So I recommend experimenting in here to find a good sensitivity level that works for you. Next up, you got ADAS, which is Advanced Driver Assistance. And here's a couple things that the Dashcam can warn you of, such as the front vehicle has started to move, lane departure, front vehicle collision, man collision, rider collision. Now you could customize which ones you want to have enable or disable, and if you choose not to use ADAS, you can always turn it off. And if you do keep ADAS on, you can select Real Scene Annotation. And all it does is shows you on the Dashcam screen what the Dashcam is reading or interpreting as seeing lines on the road, pedestrians on the road, or cars. I find that a little bit distracting, so I turn that off. It has no effect on the video recording, it's just what it shows you on the screen. Next, you also got calibration. It is important that you calibrate the ADAS system if you want to have accurate alerts. And the Dashcam will walk you through how to adjust the camera view and how to drive the vehicle for a certain period of time for the ADAS system to be calibrated. Next up is voice control, and this allows you to enable the voice command feature. That way you can control your Dashcam with your voice. The important part is to select the language that you speak on here. That way the Dashcam can understand the voice commands. Now sometimes the radio station that you're listening to or a conversation that you're having can trigger false voice commands. So that is the reason I prefer to turn voice control off. Next section is going to be parking security, what we know as park mode. Now this requires the optional hardwire kit. Now the first option is going to be how long should the parking mode be enabled when you turn the car off. And you can select unlimited, or you can limit the amount of time that park mode is going to be enabled. Next up is going to be recording footage. Now this allows you to select which cameras you want to have enabled when the Dashcam is in park mode. You can have all three of them be enabled, or you can reduce the number of cameras to only front and rear, front and cabin, or front only. Now the idea is that if you only choose front camera, the Dashcam is going to consume less power because it only needs to turn on one camera for park mode, or you can increase the number of cameras, but now you are consuming more power during park mode. I personally like to have all three cameras enabled for park mode, and again it tells you you're gonna consume more power. Yep, I confirm, I like that. And collision detection is very similar to the G sensor that we covered earlier, but this is for detecting an impact when the vehicle is parked. And here you can select how sensitive, again, you want the Dashcam to be to detecting an impact while parked. Again, you want to be careful, because if you select too high, any little car passing by or potentially even strong winds can make the Dashcam think that you're getting impacted when the car is parked. So I recommend experimenting with the setting to find one that is sensitive enough for you. Now the next option, start upon the engine turns off. This allows you to select whether you want 5 minutes of time, which allows you to exit the vehicle before park mode becomes enabled, or if you want park mode to become enabled as soon as you turn off the car. Now, if you select this, you're potentially gonna record when you close the door, basically because the car thinks it got impacted. So I like to select after 5 minutes. That way it gives me enough time to exit the vehicle, close all the doors, all the passengers are out, and then the Dashcam enters park mode. And the next option is going to be motion detection. Now, the first one that we covered was for impacts. This one is for detecting movement. And if you turn this off, it will tell you that this is going to consume more power. And if you turn it on, you're going to have a choice of sensitivity, how sensitive you want the Dashcam to be to detecting motion. Again, you want to be careful on here. If you select too high, potentially even trees moving in the background can potentially trigger the Dashcam to record, and you're going to have a ton of false alerts. And then you got time-lapse photography. Now, time-lapse photography, again, consumes more power because the Dashcam stays on recording and compresses the video into a time-lapse. I don't really use time-lapse photography for park mode. I prefer using either motion detection or collision detection. And congratulations, you're now fully familiar with the setup menu for the T800 and how to get the most out of it. And if you want to see the rest of its features, how to playback video, what the rest of the buttons do, I covered that on my full review video. I'll put a link to that video in the description down below, along with a link to this dashcam if you'd like to get one for yourself. And if you guys have any other questions regarding this, please put that in the comments also. If you found any part of this video helpful, make sure you hit the like button to support the channel and stay tuned as I have a lot more dashcam review videos coming up. Thank you guys for watching, and as always, I'll see you on the next one.